Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be starting a brand new book by the Explorer Academy called The Nebula Secret, a novel written by Trueit. And this is brought to us by National Geographic Publishing. Now, if you have this book at home, you can go ahead and get it and follow along. If you don't have this book at home with you, you can certainly listen. And if you are listening, you could be coloring or drawing and just listening and following the story that way. If you're following along with us at home today, please start on page 5, and we will be reading the first chapter, which is called Cruise. Energy rightly applied and directed will accomplish anything. Nellie Bly, 1864 to 1922. Chapter 1, Cruise. His name floated easily to him across the water. Cruise turned to see his dad waving him in from the beach. It couldn't be time to go already, could it? Knee-deep in the warm surf, Cruise raised an arm. He spread his fingers to ask, to beg, for 5 more minutes. Please, he whispered into the evening breeze. In about 3 hours, he would be leaving for Explorer Academy. It was a long way from Kauai to Washington, D.C., 4,882 miles to be exact. And Cruise was scared. What if he didn't make any friends? What if he couldn't handle the training? What if he disappointed his family, his friends, his teachers, and everybody who expected him to be something even he wasn't sure he could be? His father was giving him the thumbs up. Yes! Pushing the what-ifs from his mind, Cruise faced the tangerine sunset of Hanalei Bay. He would think about everything else later. He slid his belly onto the surfboard and began windmilling his arms through the tepid teal waters as he'd done thousands of times. He'd been surfing for as long as he could remember. His dad teased him that he spent more time in the water than out of it, which was probably true. Cruise loved the sweeping motion of the waves. Water was constant and dependable, comforting. Approaching the break, Cruise grasped the side of his surfboard. He pushed the nose underwater in a smooth duck dive, and the swell passed over him. Surfacing, he paddled out a bit farther and cut a 45-degree turn that put him parallel to the beach. Lining himself up with the long end of the long pier, he sat up and straddled his boards, legs dangling. He liked the takeoff zone. It was the calm before the ride, as Lonnie liked to say. Bobbing like this, he could think about anything or nothing. The choice was up to him. On his last day at home, Cruise didn't want to think. He wanted to feel. He wanted to feel every sensation and remember. To his left, beyond the crescent-shaped inlet, rose the emerald peaks of the mountains on the northern shore. In the fading light, it was easy to pick out the white waterfalls cascading down the creases of the hills. Cruise spotted his dad walking through the parking lot. Geez, sailboats 20 miles offshore could probably see that crazy bright and yellow zigzag shirt. His father would be headed back up to the Goofy Fort, their surf shop, to close for the night. Cruise glanced right into the deep orange sunset. It was as if the glowing orb had rolled out a carpet of light across the ocean for him, just to say goodbye. He was sure going to miss this place. You don't have to go, you know, Lanny said the last spring when he told her he'd been accepted into the academy. Her words stung. Laney was his best friend, the one who always found the silver lining. Not that he blamed her. They both applied to the same school, yet only Cruise had been accepted. It had come as a shock. He thought Laney surely would have been chosen over him. She was so much smarter, more creative. But then the certified letter had arrived. For him. It was impressive, with its fancy parchment paper and shiny gold seal. Dear Cruise Coronado, congratulations! The Society is pleased to extend to you the invitation of admittance to our elite Explorer Academy. Upon acceptance, you will be inducted into the next class of young explorers and given the rare privilege of learning firsthand from a faculty of the world's most renowned scientists, explorers, conservationists, photographers, and journalists as you travel to historic and majestic locations around the globe. We select only those candidates of the highest caliber for this prestigious honor. We ardently await your response. Cordially, Regina M. Hightower, Ph.D., Explorer Academy President. Cruz's Aunt Marisol, who taught anthropology at the academy, said they only accepted 25 or so students per class from around the world. It was quite an achievement to be admitted. Still, Cruz wondered, had he earned it? His aunt had likely pulled a few strings to get him in. Or it could have been offered out of guilt. Cruz's mom once worked at the society. She had been a neuroscientist with the Synthesis, its scientific arm. 7 years ago, there was a bad accident in her lab. It had taken her life. Another synthesis scientist, Dr. Alistair Fallowfeld, had also died in the tragedy. That's all anyone would tell Cruz and his family. That, and his mother had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Cruz hated that saying. Isn't everyone who accidentally dies in the wrong place at the wrong time? I thought the plan was for us to go to the academy together, Lainey had said to Cruz. Yeah, but my Aunt Marisol thinks, of course your aunt wants you to go now. She's going to be there. What do you think? Cruz knew Lainey had wanted him to say he would ask the school to let him wait a year. That would give Lainey another chance to apply. He wasn't sure that was a good idea. Cruz was afraid if he didn't go this year, they'd never invite him again. There was something else, too. A feeling. No, it was more than a feeling. He couldn't explain it. He only knew he had to obey. I think, his breath had caught, I want to go now. Lainey threw her hands up. That's it, fine. Fine, go. Don't be mad. We'll still be able to see each other whenever we want, even when I go aboard Orion. She raised a suspicious eyebrow. Right. Like you're ever going to call me from the Explorer's ship halfway around the world. Why not? I'll have Mel. They're letting you take your Mav. Mel was Cruz's honeybee drone, a micro-air vehicle, Mav, no bigger than his thumb. It was a gift from his dad last year after Cruz had sprained his knee, so that he would still be able to see the surf even if he couldn't feel it. Turned out, he only missed a few days of surfing. Uh-huh, Cruz had given her a smirk. See, it won't be so bad. I can give you the scoop on what it's like, so when you get in next year, you'll be set. All we have to do is pretend you're in your room and I'm in mine instead of half a world away, she said. Yet, she'd been twisting her hair, a sign of surrender. Come on, Lainey, he pleaded. I need your support. Okay, but you better stay in touch or so help me, I'll track you all the way down to the North Pole if I have to. She wasn't kidding. If Cruz had learned anything, it was that when Leilani Kaloa said she would do something, she meant it. Absolutely, he said, easy as Dad's guava pie. She had folded her arms. You know I hate pie. Girls. There, Cruz spotted his wave. Dropping his chest, he flattened himself against the board. As the swell rolled in behind him, Cruz turned for shore and paddled hard. His strokes were strong, deliberate. Timing was key. Pop up too early, and he'd miss the crest. Go too late, and he'd wipe out. Cruz could feel the surge growing behind him. Almost time. Just a few more seconds. When he felt the tail of his board begin to lift, Cruz arched his back, pushed off with his hands, and planted his feet under him. Right foot in front, left foot in back, in goofy foot position. Most right-handed people surf with their left foot in back, but not Cruz. Slowly, he lifted himself into a low crouch. The moment the wave broke under him, he let go of the board and rose, arms out for balance. Cruz felt the familiar, smooth glide of success. He hit the crest perfectly. Woohoo! He yelled, angling the board inward. Mist sprayed his face as he made a sweeping S pattern through the curl of water. Cruz shifted his weight, skimming left, then right, then left again, to ride the swirl as fast and as far as he could. Surfing made him feel powerful, free, invincible. If only the feeling lasted longer than a TV commercial. Cruz rode the wave inland until it dissipated into foam. Reaching for the Velcro strap on his ankle that tethered him to the board, his hand hesitated. It hadn't been 5 minutes, had it? Maybe one more run. Charging back into the foam, Cruz tossed his board into the water, hopped on, paddled out past the break. As before, he scooted upright to straddle the board. Cruz was lifting his left foot to double-check the ankle strap of the leash when he felt a tug on his right heel. It wasn't a swish like a fish or turtle passing. It was a good pull. It could only mean one thing. Shark! Cruz tried to slide onto the left side of his board, away from the shark, but it had a firm hold on his ankle. He was being dragged down away from the surface. Don't panic. Kick! Cruz clung to the surfboard, the only thing that would keep him afloat, and kicked with all his might. If he could manage to turn around, he could use the board to bop the shark on the nose and break loose. As he struggled, a million thoughts raced through his head. Stupid! Shark's feet at dusk. You gone in when Dad called. You're not supposed to drown, stupid! He was swallowing water. He couldn't breathe. No, 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 no! The words pounded in the rhythm to his heart. He would not die this way. With his lungs burning and his energy waning, Cruz twisted his body in one last effort to strike a blow. He lashed out, and his fist hit something smooth and hard. Bubbles swarmed around him. He saw a yellow snake. No, a tube! This was no shark, it was a person. His thrashing had knocked the air hose loose from the diver's tank. Cruz felt a sharp pain on his ankle. Then suddenly, he was free. Through the bubbles, he caught sight of a pair of fanning fins. The diver was moving away. Cruz stroked for the surface, his chest on the verge of exploding. He pushed his arms up through the water, up and out, up and out. He kept his feet moving, kicking, until finally he breached the surface. Cruz gulped as much air as his lungs could handle. Treading, he spun around, his eyes darting from the pier to the beach to the horizon and back. He did several circles, but he didn't see anyone nearby. Take it easy. You're okay. He's gone. You're okay. Cruz flung his arm behind him, groping for his surfboard, still tied to his leg. He tried to slide it under his body, but was shaking so much it took him a few tries to do what usually came naturally. Clutching his board and looking over his shoulder, he rode the tide in until he scraped bottom. Still gasping, Cruz rolled off the board and onto the wet sand. Never had he been so happy to be back on land. He lay on his back for several minutes, feeling himself breathe. His hands tingled, his throat was raw, and his right ankle throbbed, but he was alive. As Cruz stared up at the deep violet sky, at first the winking stars of night, one word kept scrolling through his brain. Why? Thanks for listening, guys. Next time we'll take on Chapter 2.